Okay, on to our lightning talk. There I am. Look, hello. On to our lightning talks. I was trying to write a joke about this in the thing, and it just completely failed. So what I'm going to do is tell you the joke, but then I want you to tell me a better answer. And the setup really comes from a story my uncle told me. He was a firefighter, and he had this phrase in firefighting: "Everybody goes home." And that's what they say, like, everybody is coming home. And I was thinking, like, I've done turnaround work, so maybe a turnaround CTO, everybody goes home, ... The examples I'm not going to use were like, except the monolith, or everybody goes home apart from the one person that did that change, or something like that. None of these jokes work, I can tell by the laughter, but have a think, and I want you to tell me how to make that joke work tonight. Deal? Deal, well done. You don't seem enthusiastic about that, but I'm going to make you do it. Okay, we have 4 speakers who have walked into that burning building, 4 firefighters, metaphorically speaking. Our lightning talks are 10 minutes each. There is a Q&A at the end of it. If you want to directly address a question, please put it to Sarah, to Dilip, to David in the question. But we will be having a Q&A at the end. But let's welcome our first speaker, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I have to start with an admission. When I talked to CTO Craft to share my experience as the CTO of Groover for the 5 past years, and I recently joined TestWe for the CPTO part, which I will explain as well, I didn't know I was going to speak about surviving 2 fires. So I discovered when I was preparing my slides. I don't have the... OK. I have 10 minutes. Let's not waste any of it. So I started by asking myself a question: what is a turnaround CTO? I never actually applied to a job that says you're going to be the turnaround CTO, or that was saying like you're going to be the firefighter, or you're going to be the person that we're going to ask for all accountability for all the issues, or the savior, all that. So I was like, what does it really mean? And honestly, for me, it means a lot of things. For me, it was a daily job in a high-paced environment, so I'm going to talk about that. And it's also another turnaround because I am now in a transitional role from CTO to CPTO. So I'll try to explain it out of my own experience, and I'll try to leave you with some key learnings that worked for me, that are today my helping principles. So what does it mean to be in a high-paced environment? And for me, startups are all high-paced environments because you do a finding round, and you have enough cash flow for 2 years, and you have to make things work to be able to go to the next funding round, or as all we hope to break even at some point. So when I joined Groover, it was my first CTO position, or it started as head of engineering. And as everyone else, I didn't find a manual that said, what does it mean to be a CTO? Everybody was doing it their own way. And as we learned in previous talks, it's a modern word. So sometimes it's CIO, sometimes it's like senior tech lead. And it's a very adaptable role. So when I joined in 2020, I was just managing 2 junior developers. So I was acting basically as the staff engineer, as the most experienced one, always hands-on. And also, I had the CTO hat for some like C-level talks. Then in 2021, we started growing the team. So I started working more like a tech lead. I was slightly less hands-on. I could help the CPO building the important features for each quarter. We had OKRs. And with this kind of like tech lead hat, I was able to put like the biggest architecture decisions so that we could deliver. Then in 2022, we could hire more. So it still was like a tech lead position, but I started to face hiring culture issues, like how do I build a consistent culture across a team that is growing. It's easier to manage 2 people because you see them every day, and your culture is kind of like this unwritten daily life with the developers. But as you grow, and especially as you start hiring remote people, how do you keep them engaged? And what seems obvious to you is not obvious to them, which led me in 2023 to start working in a career ladder and in principles, because sometimes when you want to spread like the same consistent culture, if it's not written, if people don't know what you expect from them, then it's normal that they fall behind in some topics. So this helped me really a lot, and it's kind of like bridge with the previous talk. I wrote down the principles that I used, and I'm going to share some with you. And it was like an axiom I could always lay my feedback on top of it. Like, because of this principle, I cannot accept this architecture decision. Because of this principle, this is not going to help us to reach our mission, these kind of things. So when I grew the team, I became more of an engineering manager. So that's also part of this transitional, because basically I was less needed as a hands-on CTO. I sometimes took some features by myself to like not get rusty with code. But basically I was an engineering manager, and I spent more time doing one-on-ones, doing follow-ups, and doing like strategic meetings than coding every day. And finally, between 2024 and 2025, I reached a team of 12 members, so I'm giving you like 1 full stack, 6 front-end, etc. And I was finally starting to act like a CTO, because I finally had laid kind of like a foundation to be able to look ahead and to take some bets on where do I want to take the company further on a tech level. And what I learned from all this is that sometimes as a senior developer, we like to stay hands-on, because that's where we prove our value and our legitimacy as a leader. But actually, that could also stall our own growth. And as the previous speaker said as well, if we don't scale ourselves, our team cannot scale as well. And that's why it's important that all the culture is not based on you, and that you actually have principles and bring people to write them with you. Take your team along to write like what are the guidelines, the principles, because if they don't choose them with you, they're gonna have a hard time to stick to them, because they will not come naturally to them as well. So that was the first part of the transition. So yeah, as I said here, technical seniority, we build like firefighting, helping with bugs and DevOps, and then build the career ladder, launch the second squad, and finally working as a CTO. So what does it mean to be a turnaround CTO in the second chapter of my own experience? And that's for me is what I started 3 months ago at Test3. Basically, I'm trying to merge product and tech, because it was hard during 5 years to always, you know, like fight decisions with the CPO. I would always like wait in refactoring, cleaning the code, documenting, adding more tests, while he would always wait in novelty, new features. We promised this for the investors. We need this new shiny thing to be able to go to the next round of funding. So it was really hard to always have to justify the technical part of the decisions. But at the same time, I also learned during these 5 years that building new features is also important to, you know, have a viable product. So I tried to like internalize this conflict instead of fighting with someone else, fight with myself, by becoming a CPO, so 50% CPO and 50% CTO. And this is a recent experience, so take it with a pinch of salt. So the first thing I tried to do is to adapt the career ladder and agile sprint methodology that I used with my devs for products. Because I'm an engineer, I tried to engineer product management. So I built actually a linear board with a lot of like statuses for tickets, where we would move our features from research and discovery to prioritization, to prototyping, to iterations with engineers, final specs, and then planning and test and validation. How it's going too far, I can tell you that product owners are really bad at updating their board and moving their tickets, as well as developers. So that's the first feedback. And also, the second thing I tried to do by bridging product in tech is to actually involve developers earlier than the classical workflow and build with them. So what we do is like riffing sessions where we don't even bring designs. We just like bring mock-ups and drawings, and we discuss with them, because sometimes it also is frustrating as a product person that you build like all these Figma designs, and you come in and the engineer is like, this would take 6 months, but I could give you an option for it to take 3 weeks. So basically, this way we have like like shorter cost before getting the engineers' feedback. And also we do peer reviews for product members as well, like code peer reviews, where I have two product owners. They review each other's specs, each other's mockups. That helps. And the fact that we are one team means it's the same goals. So we try to bake in refactoring into the features. So we get always this engineer's feedback. We know that some page on our web app is really old. So if we want to add features to it, we need to clean it as well in the same like epic. And finally, like trying to help technical people understand more the user's concerns and make them more product aware by like involving them also in the functional part of what we're gonna try to build. So my key learnings from these two experiences is first, don't stall migrations. Don't wait too long before you do a migration. How much time I have? Okay. Don't stall migrations. The more you wait for a major migration, the more you are going to pay for it. If you know the Phoenix project, I think no one wants to have a Phoenix project. And the best safeguards are the automated ones. To be able to hire someone faster, if you have things that will block them in the CI/CD, if they don't follow your coding style, that's the best way than arguing with them why breaking the names is like this or like that. And one acronym, one principle is keep it simple, stupid. We all want to go to this fancy over abstractions, all this like very advanced design system. But at the end of the day, we spend more time reading code than writing it. And when you go to this over abstraction of code, you don't understand anymore what you want to do. And believe me, I've been there. It's really awful. And finally, don't forget the human side of change. Never change from your own comfort, change from what the team needs. I'm actually aware that I wrote too much in my slides, I'm sorry for that. So yeah, don't change just because you were familiar with a different way of doing things. Try to go from what the team really needs right now, even if you don't think it's the good thing to do, give them a try, let them try things out. And always provide space for growth. The same way that you actually grew from a junior developer into a CTO level, give people room for growth as well. If you are too much in a flat hierarchy, you don't give them perspectives, and you're going to lose talents. So by building also the career ladder, I was able to give them perspectives as staff, principals, tech leads, engineering manager, which also help them to know what they should focus on, the skills they need to foster to fill the gap for the next step. And one last principle, KISS again, but this time for keep, improve, start, stop. This is the framework I use to give feedback. I give people actions with like what they need to keep to doing, what they need to improve, what they need to start, and what they need to stop. And honestly, by framing feedback like this, it's less hard for you to provide, and they also can give you feedback back using the KISS. They're like, hey, I have a KISS for you today. Keep this, improve this, please stop asking me about this project every day. And yeah, it works both ways. And yeah, try to be consistent, which is not easy with both principles. And that's it for me.
Well done. Thank you. Okay, I'll pass you very quickly over to David. Come on.
I don't need a clicker.
You don't need a clicker.
I
Good
don't
man.
have slides. All right, mic check, mic check. Does everyone hear me? All right. Good to be here. I don't have slides with me today. I have a chronic problem with time management, so I figured I'm not going to do the slides. I'm just going to keep it easy. I do a lot of technical due diligence work, so I look at a lot of startups, probably over 50 a year. I've seen a couple of hundred by now, I'm pretty sure, over the last 4 years. And I've seen them fuck up in different, colorful ways. I myself have been in companies. I've seen my superiors screw up. I have been, in some occasions at least, twice, interim, sometimes founder myself. I've screwed up. So I've just made a bit of a collection of some stories to share some of the things that I find out there that go wrong. So to start it off with, maybe get a read of the room. I'm going to annoy you a little bit, so get those hands or the arms ready to move. How many of y'all feel like you're in a crisis situation right now? Oh, okay, there are a couple hands going up. So sometimes I'm not sure if that's a bad or a good thing for the people that aren't raising their hands, because I'm wondering myself, like, I'm not in a crisis situation right now. Does it mean I'm moving too slowly? Should I be doing something different? But yeah, I mean, like, to kind of come back to this crisis point, when I talked to about 30 plus CTOs in my network, then poked a couple of other people on different channels, I tried to get a sense of like, what's the taxonomy of the kind of like issues that happen in companies, or what people feel is regrettable about what CTOs do. And the one thing that popped up is people most of the time. It's about stakeholder management, making sure that your direct reports or the people that you report to understand what's going on, or your customers understand what's going on. The point you were making about like release notes, brilliant point, because sometimes people just need to know. I'm an engineer, classically trained as an embedded systems engineer, so I did a bunch of hardware tinkering. I like software. Like, one of the things I've taken to heart is like, don't repeat yourself. Biggest mistake of my life, don't repeat yourself when you're working with people. You have to repeat, repeat, repeat. This is one of those things that I feel is one of the biggest failings that I had over my career, that I gradually grew around to accepting as a necessary part of kind of like this role. Another thing that's quite interesting that I've also bumped into quite a bit is kind of like the shepherding part of the whole equation. I started studying engineering because I thought like, I love machines. I understand machines better than people, so I'm going to do something in engineering so I don't have to deal with people. Then kind of like segued into management, which I don't know how did really happen. I just kind of like fell into it. And now I'm mostly dealing with people, which is like a twisted turn of fate, but hey, here we are. One of the good examples of things that I've seen have really worked well in kind of like shepherding this feeling of safety so people can get stuff done, because whenever shit hits the fan, excuse my French, this is especially the moment to make sure you keep everything kind of like together, be that glue, as someone already kind of like mentioned. And that's where you realize, like, being in the trenches with folks, like, even if you're not an active contributor, because honestly, for any of the scopes where I was interim, I wasn't contributing code. But I was making them coffee sometimes. I was just making sure I was firewalling customer success and taking issues from them to make sure that the folks that needed to get shit done could get that shit done. Like, stuff like that is sometimes not the very obvious CTO type of thing that you think about, because technology is in the name, not people, right? But I've learned over like a lot of these experiences and bruises that this is often what it pretty much dials down to kind of like latch on to this thing that Lee John had. Like, we all get to go back home, right? Yeah. Bruised. That's typically what I've experienced inside of these turnaround situations. It's hard. I'm honest about it. Most people, I think it helps to be honest to them as well, to like manage morale. In some sense, it's almost like being kind of like, and none of us probably have been in Navy SEALs. I haven't. I've just seen movies about it. But you know, those rallying speeches at the beginning to get people like to understand, like, yo, we're gonna get hurt. It's gonna be important though. This is kind of like the goal we have. Communicate that clearly. Set boundaries. Like, if things work out well, a week from now we get to hug our family members again. This is one of the things that I think is really important. Just make sure that the people aspect is kind of like managed. One point that still latches into the people thing is kind of like making sure that the right folks have the right authority. There are a lot of these CTO types who kind of like want to be kind of like sometimes a bit of a hero, but people don't like heroes, and they don't like Streber people in Germany. You know that already. So like, I don't need to tell you this. All of y'all are probably way more experienced in this stuff than I am. I'm just a kind of a silent observer here. Make sure that the right people have the right controls, that they can crack whips, that they can make decisions, that they can like tell you what you need to do to go to the executive person to make sure that you get a little bit of budget. And usually, in the cases that you're going to be doing turnaround stuff, there is no budget, so that's going to be an interesting puzzle. But it's another thing to keep in mind, to just make sure that people feel empowered. Again, a non-technical thing. I'm sorry to kind of like repeat this over and over again. Another point that I have seen CTOs struggle with, and myself have struggled with, and that I had to learn the hard way when I got my only kid, just 2 years ago, to take care of yourself. I think people are sometimes hustling, running, forget that. Sometimes I really need to punch someone, and that means I need to hit the boxing gym and just hit a bag, or I need to like figure out how to get my rest, or there are other mechanisms to deal with some of this stuff. Hugs, collecting hugs from the people that I love is another thing that I need to do. Self-care, it isn't glamorous or it isn't fun. It doesn't sound like one of these high-techy, flashy things that a CTO should do. but I think it's very important to keep that on your radar. And yeah, again, to sound repetitive, most of the times when I've seen things fall apart, that was because a CTO got burnt out. We've seen cases where people ended up in hospitals. This stuff happens. We've seen cases where people broke relationships irreparably almost. People that were friends before, sometimes even family members. Like, I think all of this self-care is also about making sure you maintain the relationships around you, because being mentally fit and being physically fit is kind of like the precursor to being able to support your organization well. I don't know many situations where you can be buggy and broken and then meaningfully contribute to a larger effort. So, as repetitive as it sounds, it's not very technical. It's just a people thing. I got 3 minutes left on the clock, and I have a couple more stories to share. Very briefly, big mistake I made, consensus building. In a recent role I had, I was trying to not offend people. I have this in my hands because I said already, I'm bad at time management. I dropped the kid off at the daycare, had this in my pocket, so I decided I'm keeping it. The mom is picking her up with a backup nookie. Another thing, make sure you have backups. The consensus building thing could be a big killer. I think one thing that you said really interestingly was about kind of like being dogmatic in some regard. And I think there it's very important to figure out what are the hills to die on regarding this point. You can't make everyone happy, and if people don't want to be happy or you can't keep them happy, then sometimes it's better to part ways before it gets sour. If you do build consensus, we're going to build this mediocrity machine, and no one is going to like it. And then machine is a key word here, because if we don't build machines, then what are we really doing? Like you're the central part in the equation. What happens if you're out of the running? Like, get systems in place. There are mechanisms for them. They don't have to be perfect when you implement them, but get little baby steps going. Some of the mechanisms you already know about. You said something about having clear roles. I hate this boring type of work, but the RACI matrix thing, the communication of strategy, disseminating it through the organization, doing some effort of planning. I'd like to get down and dirty, just write code right away, but nah, we got to do the other stuff. And if we do that well, we're fundamentally building machines that can then kind of like live beyond the day that we are involved with the company, or even available. Next week, I'm on vacation, so I'm hoping that whatever I'm involved with is more machine than dependent on me. That's it. These are my almost 10 minutes. Over and out, folks. You take care.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well done, buddy. Thank you. Leaving me a minute, that's great. I had to run up. Right, next, very quickly, on to Dilip. So big hand for Dilip.
Hey, thank you. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Good? It's incredible to stand before so many leaders, visionaries, and CTOs to talk about driving chaos to confidence. And I'm going to share my leadership journey and also my learning today. What do you do when you walk into chaos? That was the question I had to answer in freezing November night in 2021. I just landed in Berlin. The streets were quiet, empty, and dark. The world was still on lockdown. And I have left behind 2 decades of working with a large organization like Bosch and Honeywell in technology leadership role. What a right time to change career, right? I was about to join the hyperscaling HelloFresh, a digital native company, highly growing, full of energy, and full of chaos. I learned some of the lessons in the journey, which I'm going to share today with all of you. The 3 key learnings, which I believe has helped me to succeed in the journey at the early phase of HelloFresh. So the first thing which I learned is lead with purpose. It was very clear that I need to create a very clear purpose for the team, so they stopped blaming the past generation for the failures and they focus on the future. Because what I learned in the first month is that engineers are focusing on firefighting than building the product. Onboarding felt like decoding an ancient script. And everyone who joined at that point of time was more than 90% engineers less than 6 months old in the organization. And we continue to hire new team members. And all these engineers, when they come together, there's 3 questions which commonly asked. Who owns this? Nobody knows. Do you know why it behaved like that? Nobody knows. Can I make a change without breaking everything? Try. So that was the situation where you are in, and you need to create a belief to the team that they start focusing on customer and not on the past generation. So I told them a story. The story is about the city of Florence. In 1500, city of Florence commissioned a marble to build a sculpture. 2 artists worked on it and left the marble half-worked, saying that this marble is flawed. One young artist in the age of 25, do you know who? Michelangelo, right. Michelangelo picked up the task of working on that marble, and he created that sculpture of David. And I told the team that what tech system you see today, it is like that half-work marble. All decisions in the past taken in a good faith to move the business forward. And what we are going to do is we are going to transform that technical depth into technical excellence. The second key learning for me is don't only design for survival, but design for scale. And if you want to design for scale, the first thing you need to focus on is knowing the terrain. The 4 key questions you need to know. How does the company make money? How does our work connected to that? What matters to our user? And what we can do to unlock the value. But this is not important only for you as a leader. You need to ensure your team understands and create a shared understanding. So we started doing several event storming sessions to document all our user journeys. We documented our architecture using C4 diagram, and we continuously focus on defining SLOs and SLAs so we can measure performance across the product journey. And most importantly, what we did is we were ruthlessly prioritizing what we need to work on. Because not everything has to be all right at every point of time. What you need to ensure that you are moving forward in the journey. Once we saw that the teams are more stable and they are able to deliver product, we started focusing on how do you build the organization which improves the autonomy and reduces the coordination over it. And the part which we really worked, and I felt that it worked wonder for us, is we designed the organization using domain-driven design and team topology. We really created the bounded context, and we completely reorganized the organization. If you ask the people who worked there, they would not even know, because it was not only the squads. We changed the squads, we changed the tribes. The complete organization was reorganized. But it worked wonder, because the teams were focused on their domain, so it improved the autonomy of the team. Because of the bounded context, they get an opportunity to master the domain. And the purpose was very clear, because we wanted to drive an outcome, which is creating the technical excellence in the organization. The third key learning, which I would like to share, is creating the culture of continuous learning. To do that, we defined 4 key areas: the technical excellence, agile excellence, operational excellence, and quality excellence. We defined all the scope, meeting rituals, success metrics, how we're going to measure the success, everything. But here is when the things I learned the most. In one of the early meetings, the meeting started, and the meeting champion shared the agenda, and there was silence. Everyone was looking at me. And at that point of time, I realized that I need to change something. So I told them that I'm not the leader here. I'm joining to learn from all of you. This is a platform where you're going to share all your successes, all your failures, all your learnings, and we are going to learn and grow together. And my promise that I'm not going to use any of the discussion here in the performance review. And what I believe is the transformation in terms of creating that autonomy, purpose, and mastery transformed the organization to deliver the result. We saw dramatic change. The change failure rate dropped from 30% to 5%. The critical user journey improved by 70%. The backend availability improved. But it was not only technical excellence. What we also delivered is the new shopping journey personalization, which created 400 million euro of cumulative impact. But what I believe is the real success as a leader is that we transformed a team that survived chaos into a team that thrives in uncertainty. So here what I will tell you, all of you. Chaos isn't your enemy. It's your starting point. Real confidence isn't built when the path is clear. It is built in the mess with your clarity, conviction, and confidence. And if you are on your own chaos, remember these 3 key learnings. Lead with a purpose so you can unite your team. Design for scale and not for survival. And create an organization which can continuously learn, because that is going to be your operating system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dilip. Thank you. And our final one before Q&A, do get those questions up on Slido. We've got 10 minutes for all 4 of our speakers at the end. But please welcome up Birgit.
Oh, I'm so excited. I don't have slides. Thank you. I introduce myself as a leadership coach, agile coach. I consult companies, and I had to deal with a lot of fire in my career. For example, I actually can name names because they sell it as a success story. West Wing had their server crash when they had their Black Friday, all 2 weeks long. So they had lost like a lot of money, like a yearly income. Or it had a company where they had like lots of people losing 50% of them because engineers and management couldn't get together. And just recently, I have a customer where they asked to help in transitioning to tech. So this is a call center agency that doesn't want to only digitalize their processes, but actually do and create technology. And the setup is the following, that they have a really small team, and this small team that is doing currently the technology is actually former IT support. So what they would usually do is to go to the call center agents and plug in the headphones when they say, I don't hear anything anymore. And that was quite funny. And so I said to the CEO who comes into the team's room and has ideas every day and would potentially move the needle and the focus everywhere, but not into one direction, that I would need to focus on this team first before helping on the organizational level. I saw and observed the team, and I saw they were actually doing some coding on lambdas, for example, and that was just quite surprisingly and also really good on a tiny scale. So the impact with the knowledge was on a tiny level, which was good. And the thing is, so they did this call automation with the lambdas, but the CEO came in and said, like, now I want to have an AI to talk to. And that doesn't mean just only creating one lambda for one automation. That actually means complex systems, microservice systems, multiple AIs pipelined after each other. And the team doesn't know only the technology that they're using, they also don't know AI and how to pipeline it into each other. And so that was already a fire. Like, how does the CEO imagine for the team to do that? And so this is where I actually also needed to go in and be hands-on with the team together. Because why did I do that as a coach? The thing is, this company also has limited resources, so there's no investor. Like, this is what we have since the last couple of years here in Berlin, that you have like big money coming in, but this company doesn't have it. They have limited resources. And so they would actually use these IT support guys and rather grow them, because those guys are in this company for years, so why not use them and grow them? And this is where I came in, coming in as a coach, being kept as a trainer. And the title of the 10 minutes talk is actually how to destroy the code base with one merge. And so so I'm going to talk about AI. I apologize for that. And so I introduced this topic to the team, and they had ideas and stuff, but at some point I saw the team moving away the monitors from each other. And the sound of the typing, what they did, was not from a developer, but this is how you usually chat, right? And it would be revealed with a merge request, how it looked like, how they coded. And what I saw was, like, for example, comments that was the path of the file, and comments what the source code would be doing, sequential code, duplicated code, and very verbose code. What you usually know from AI-generated code, right? And there was also a lot of files being written. So especially one of the guys was really eager to be impactful on a system level, not only on one code base, like one tiny system, but on the entire level. So he created with one merge request an entire system. And it was a lot of mental load for the other people who were on the junior level also to read. And it was even for me very difficult to read. So I asked them, do you actually understand the code? And he said, I don't have time to explain. So maybe 2 days later, I would ask again. And on the third time, he would say, like, I don't know what the code is. It was generated by AI. And by the way, this would happen many times. This pull request would be merged eventually. And another team member had gotten a fairly easy task that I thought this guy would take 1 day. But after 2 weeks, he gave up, saying, I don't understand the source code. Absolutely not. And so I sat together with him, pairing with him, in order to understand what he feels in order to go through the source code. And I said, like, I know how you feel, like while pairing with you, the entire spaghetti code, like, I don't know, I had to go through 5 classes in order to understand where, like, several parameters went through. And that was quite difficult. I can imagine that a large language model can understand it, but not a human, right? And this is what we want to achieve. We want to have a human-readable code. And this team that didn't have any knowledge of industry standards, such as Git versioning, testing, quality assurance, code sniffing, pipelining, and stuff like that, this is where I focus on, first of all. I taught them all of this tiny stuff that you would not even put into a job description because you just expect it, right? And the other thing that I did was to go to the CEO and also talk to the team and to give them just simply the Copilot subscriptions that they need because they were hidden before. You remember, they have moved away the monitors to hide that they don't code or cannot code. So now we allow them to use the AI, but it also comes with some commitment. For example, and this is very important because we had it today already in some presentations hidden, and this is why I think it's still important to repeat it. We need to give the AI good instructions on how to code, but also we need to know what we want to get out of it, right? And then what is also really useful, and I talked to Govinda also yesterday, really useful insights, that simply writing tests, for example, can also not only give the human the feedback, but also give the AI the feedback. The AI can execute those tests and give feedback to itself. And Govinda is actually really good in automating it in a really good way. Linting, for example, or just running the build, for example, to make it buildable. Just recently, I also introduced the code sniffer SonarCube in order to rate the source code what the AI has generated. And it's really difficult still even today for an entire junior team to code with AI. So the next step is actually to grow the team's knowledge. Code design, solid code, whatnot, and so on and so forth. And this is why I'm also quite interested in Skill Whale, but also in other topics such as code walkthroughs and teaching each other how to code. And especially not only me teaching the people how to code, but especially teaching themselves. And the other thing that I would like to do, and I'm doing also, is to hire seniority. As I said, this company has limited resources, but it still has understood the importance of the seniority that it needs. So this is for currently the strategy. And the company is hoping to get customers for this very new product in order to get to more steps to grow the team's knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can stay on stage. I'd like to welcome all of the lightning talkers back on stage for some Q&A. So welcome them all back up. You can keep on clapping, keep on clapping. That's good. Take a seat. What happened to your mic? What did you do?
I got a little bit too excited, so
Oh,
I had them like unplug me.
So first question to David. How do you win trust quickly when inheriting a team that's burned out or skeptical of leadership?
Ha, Irina. All right, dope. Irina's been asking a hell of a lot of questions. Like,
Yeah.
Irina should win an award here. There should be a leaderboard.
I've got a prize for her.
Ah,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, so Irina, I think for me, in my experience at least, it boiled down a lot to trench time. The first incident happens, or even a little escalation that happens between the team, I'm there, whatever the time. to hop in and just help them resolve it, to make them feel like, hey, I'm there for them, but also to just kind of familiarize myself with where the skeletons really are, because I think the trench time is a good way to kind of like feel like, oh, geez, like we're debugging this thing. We don't have like good observability tooling. What the hell? Like stuff like that is like a good way to kind of like get a handle on it. And in my experience, engineers always kind of like felt like you earn badges with this type of stuff where they're like, oh, okay, you're really there for me. You kind of like understand the situation. Okay, maybe I'll kind of like grow onto you. So yeah, that would be it.
Yeah. I'll point these to people. If anybody else wants to jump in as well, if you've got a reflection, please do so, any of you. But this one's to Sarah. What was the reason to merge product and tech, and what was the outcome? There is another question on this at the bottom. By combining product and tech, don't you miss some peer challenge? And certainly, I come from a bit more of a product background, and that was what was always said to me, like as like CPOs, like, don't you want that sort of fight?
Sure. Well, the reason to merge product and tech came from two actually reasons. First reason was completely selfish. By actually automating my tech team culture, making the career ladder principles and everything, and delegating more to the tech leads, I was starting to get bored with only tech topics. So I wanted to grow, and I was more and more interested into product design. How do you make product ergonomic, easy to use? And these are things that are hard when you come from an engineering like culture and education, because you like to make things look like components and like Lego pieces. And here you need to be more into abstraction and simplicity first. And the second reason is that I feel like our industry is going to that with AI. I didn't put it in my presentation, but for me it's a bit obvious that we need our engineers to stop being just software engineers and become product engineers, because they're gonna use AI as their coding monkey to like write ideas for features, but then they need to have the right angle to correct and to moderate what the AI is going to produce. And that's why if they are more like towards product point of view, they're gonna know what really matters for their users and be able to maintain this code and bring value faster to the users. And the second question was like the challenge.
Yeah,
right?
Some of the argument to separate product and tech is like that sort of like argument, that interface, that challenge between the two divisions.
Well, spoiler alert, we still have this challenge, because you have product owners, you have designers, they face developers, and developers will always like bring in their technical insights. Are you sure you want to make it like this? You want to add this tiny animation here? Do you know the cost for me to add it here? Are you sure you want it to be a one page? Actually, it's easier for me if you make it a 2-page and I have a loading time in the middle. So you still have these challenges every day, but at least by trying to merge the teams, you get them earlier. So no one is like, not no one, but less people are frustrated.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you make product teamwork like one sprint ahead of tech, and they make all these mockups, and they make all these user interviews, they're gonna get attached to their solution. And then when they bring it to the table to like be challenged by techs, it's gonna become like an ego fight. Like, I really want my vision to be the one we implement. While if you bring everyone to the table earlier, no one is attached to a solution, so it's easier to like co-build it together and less feel like your effort has been done for nothing. So hopefully.
Thank you. We'll try and get through both of these. Next one to Dilip. This is actually a really one each. This is great. How do you introduce DevOps, stroke team topology, stroke MS in chaotic situations where teams are overburdened, and see it as another huge shift from a new leader?
Yeah, first of all, to clarify, you should not do that, because the moment you land in as a leader, you don't have trust with your team. The team doesn't believe you. And you need time to build the trust. You need time to make them understand who you are as a leader and what exactly you bring to the table and what you want in terms of long term, what is the vision you want to take them. Because only when they start believing that you came here for a positive change, and it is not only for the company, but also for them, then only they start trusting. And only when you gain that trust, you should start changing. So I don't know how my story really reflected, but first 6 months, I was only trying to stabilize and then started the transition journey. And the complete transition journey we did together with all the engineers. So everyone was part of the discussion. Everyone really drove that discussion, and they owned the complete organization. Because at some point of time, they were writing on their own the complete documentation of the domain and saying that I'm owning this piece of tech real estate, and I'm going to take care that this works perfectly. And that is where the shift happens. So I would say, when you start change, ask that question, is the team has trust and believe on you or not?
Thank you. And last but not least, Birgit, would challenge the core decision to keep a handful of juniors and a mentor instead of, wow, I can't read this. Can you read this? juniors and add a mentor instead of hiring seasoned people.
I absolutely understand this question. I need to repeat this. This company has limited resources, which means that even the juniors are under the market rate. Which means we hired a senior with the aim to also teach and mentor the juniors. This was specifically also written in the job description and also evaluated for inside the hiring pipeline. And when everything goes well and the product is deployed and we have some customers on it, then it would be also a time to also have a mentor and also like a real engineering manager who can pick up all the tasks, and so we can focus on the organizational growth as well.
Great. Well, we're at time. Just again, a big thanks to all four of our speakers. One of the worst things to get at a conference is the keynote, because they take 45 minutes. It's months of work to get a good keynote, and I'll be thanking our other speakers. But harder still is to get a 10-minute talk. So well done to the four of you.